Well, it's finally time, everybody. It's time for us to look back on 2023 and see what the world of adult animation had to offer. And personally, I feel like it was a pretty dang good year. I've got some solid shows to talk about in the best of 2023 category. And I'll be real, the worst of 2023 only really has two shows that I would consider across the board terrible. But I'll explain myself once we get there. For right now, the way this video is going to work is first we're going to talk about the best animated films I saw in 2023, which will be nice and brief. Then we'll move on to the worst shows of 2023 in the realm of adult animation, and then finally end on the best. That's the lineup. That's what we're doing. Without further ado, let's get in to the best animated films I saw in 2023. And make sure to let me know what your favorites and least favorites were in the comment section below. I do try to read through every single comment, and I am genuinely interested in what other people liked and disliked. It's how I find out about new things to talk about. It's how I sort of gauge interest on certain topics, so please make sure to do that if you've got any opinions. That's all I got. Into the video now. 2023 was a really strong year, in my opinion, for animated films, and I did see a good chunk of them, but I did not see all of them. There are a handful of animated films that I did not see. So if something is missing from my little nomination list, it probably is not because of a lack of quality. It's most likely because of a lack of me seeing it. So that little disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about the 4 films I nominated for the best animated film of 2023. The Boy and the Heron, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Venture Brothers, Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart. Now, 4 really strong films. I'm gonna start sort of in reverse with how I listed them, talking about the Venture Brothers movie, because this one has the most homework to get into, I feel like. You gotta watch a lot of Venture Brothers if it's gonna make any sense to you whatsoever, but if you are a fan of Venture Brothers and you have seen it, it's a really good cherry on top to the series. Of course, I'd always want more Venture Brothers because there's so many great characters and so many great stories you could tell, but I feel like this movie was a nice little bookend on what has been developing over the last, like 20 years at this point. Now, is it as good as the other 3 films in this little category? Probably not, but it's also just a completely different kind of movie. It's a tie-in to a TV show, so the budget's different and the approach to it's completely different, but I still really enjoyed it, but I don't think it's as strong as the other 3. The next one I want to talk about is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and the reason I want to talk about this one next is because I don't actually have a ton to say about it. I thought it was really, really great. I saw it opening night. I thought about making a video on it, but then I was just trying to come up with like some unique opinion I could form and kind of put out, and some unique perspective. But the thing about Across the Spider-Verse is once you see it, you get it. You get why it's so good instantly. It is very accessible. You can just watch it, enjoy it, and have a really fantastic time. And it's also the middle of a trilogy, so it doesn't feel like, I wouldn't say it's like a drop-off in quality or a drop-off in pacing, but it's building up to the next movie. So I saw it and I thought, wow, this is fantastic, this is great. But in my mind, when I think back to like, you know, the sort of capstones of trilogies or whatnot, maybe with the exception of like Star Wars with The Empire Strikes Back, I'm usually a bigger fan of the finale more so than the middle of the story, whereas the sort of all is lost moments come in. I want to see the big triumphant ending or the start to the journey. I tend to enjoy those movies a bit more. So I loved Across the Spider-Verse. Don't get me wrong. Across the Spider-Verse is insanely good. The animation quality is ridiculous, and the story that's unfolding is really fun and really cool, but it just sort of left me really excited for the next one without much to say about the current one. And that's sort of where I'm left with it. Next up is a movie that really surprised me, and I feel like it surprised a lot of other people as well, and that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, Mutant Mayhem. This thing was incredible, and I'm not even that big of a Ninja Turtles fan. I really love the original, like, 1991 movie. I don't like the sequels to it, but that original movie I think is really charming and fun. And so my knowledge of Ninja Turtles is sort of all based off that movie that's more so a cult classic than anything else in a lot of people's eyes. But then I saw the trailer trailers for Mutant Mayhem, and my younger brother is really into Ninja Turtles right now, so we decided to go see it together. And oh my god, it's so much fun. The movie has such a great art style, it has such a great vibe and atmosphere on top of that. Choosing to cast actual teenagers to voice the roles adds so much to the characters. It just gives them a completely different feeling than the other Ninja Turtle, stuff I've seen. Granted, I've only seen one movie, but still, it just felt so genuine and so earnest, and on top of that, super fun. This movie is just an action-packed, goofy, great time, and I loved every second of it. It has a great soundtrack, it has great action sequences, it has great characters, it has a pretty dang good story that's relatively simple, and it goes to a pretty crazy place at the end. I just loved it. I absolutely loved Mutant Mayhem. And then lastly, we have to talk about The Boy and the Heron. I really liked it. I love Studio Ghibli films. Big surprise, big surprise. It's beautifully animated. Is anyone surprised that this was good? I mean, I think everyone kind of assumed like, yeah, this is gonna be pretty good. You go into it, you watch it. Yeah, it's really, really great. It's another fantastic Ghibli movie. I wouldn't say it's the best one I've ever seen, but it's very, very good, and being able to see a Studio Ghibli movie in like a mainstream theater with like the big ARC speakers and the big curved screen, that's an incredible experience, especially for a new release, because I've gone and seen, I think, one Ghibli film in a theater that was a little bit smaller, and that was sort of fun, but for a new release to come out, get a full release over here where you can go see it in dub and sub at an actual movie theater, that's just great. That's wonderful. More stuff like that. I saw it opening night with some friends, and I absolutely loved it. It's beautifully animated. It has a pretty good soundtrack. I didn't love the music in this one. I love a lot of the music in Studio Ghibli films, but it was just kind of okay here. Where this movie really shined for me was with its character designs. There are so many great characters in this movie, especially like the animal characters. They are designed so perfectly to the point where I just like looking at them. I just like staring and looking at some of these characters that are in The Boy and the Heron, and that is a testament to great character design. So which of these four is the best animated film of 2023 for me? Well, after a lot of thought, I think that despite how great The Boy and the Heron is, and Across the Spider-Verse is, I think I gotta give it to Mutant Mayhem, which I know is probably gonna shock a lot of people. Maybe you could say objectively from a writing standpoint, The Boy and the Heron and Across the Spider-Verse are better. I think you could maybe make that argument, but Mutant Mayhem is so much fun. It is just a ridiculously fun movie with a lot of style and a lot of heart poured into it. The art style of it is a real risk, I feel like. It's an art style that doesn't click with everybody, but for me, it really, really worked. And I just loved it. I love the risks that they took here, and I think they paid off. I think it made for a movie that if you haven't seen it, you genuinely have to see if you're a fan of animation. With the action sequences alone, it's worth your time. So that's my pick, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. I absolutely adored that movie. Now to talk about the stuff that I did not adore so much. Yeah, that's right, everybody. It's the moment that I'm assuming most of you were waiting for, although you'll probably skip to the end of the best segment as well. But here we are. We're in the worst adult animated show category of 2023, and I'll be real, I only have two shows on here that I feel like are genuinely terrible through and through, but explanations will come. The four nominees are as follows: Velma Season 1, Mulligan Season 1, Big Mouth Season 50, who cares, and the Clone High Revival Season 1. Those are my four nominees. Let's get into some explanations. Once again, going backwards, the Clone High Revival. It's not as bad as the other three shows on this list. I don't think it is. It's like a 5 out of 10. It's like a D, leaning towards an F. I feel like they made a lot of mistakes. I did a big video explaining why I did not like it. A lot of people still really enjoyed it, and it's getting a third season, I think, in 2024. So they have a chance to win me back over. It's nowhere near as bad as these other shows, but I can't stress this enough. I didn't see that much garbage this year. I watched garbage from years past, sure, but on the whole, I saw a lot of really great TV shows in 2023, and so Clone High making the worst list is kind of a by default thing. I'm sure there are worse shows that came out, but of the shows I saw, this is just where I would put them. It's nowhere near as bad as the other 3 on this list, but if you want to hear my full thoughts, you can check out that video I did on why I don't think the Clone High revival works. Okay, now Big Mouth, everyone knows Big Mouth, not a very good show. Big Mouth has a pretty big fan base, apparently, so Big Mouth fans, please explain to me why I should watch Big Mouth in the comment section below. I tried the new season. I was fully caught up until the point of this new season, and I was done. I wasn't going to watch any more Big Mouth because the show had just gotten to the point where its sense of humor is so stupid, but it also wants to think it's so smart with like its political commentary and its social commentary that it's just a headache inducer. I did not watch this whole new season of Big Mouth. I've been done with Big Mouth for the last year. I felt great. I've lost weight. I've gotten healthier since I stopped watching Big Mouth. My eating habits are better. I think I've gotten taller as well since I stopped watching Big Mouth. I've just been a better person overall. But I heard they were sending the characters to high school, which is one of my biggest complaints with Big Mouth, is it's a show about growing up and changing, and none of the characters grow up, and they change in the stupidest, most brain-dead ways possible. But I decided to give it a try because they actually were doing something that I gave them criticism for. They actually took a criticism, hopefully, maybe someone heard it and they were like, hey, let's give this a try. That's my hope. That's my prayer. I hope that happened. Probably not, but they did something that got my interest again, and it did not work out. It's the same problems. It's still incredibly stupid. It still thinks it's really smart despite being really stupid, and that's annoying. And that's all I got to say about it. I'm done. I'm done with Big Mouth. Sorry, Big Mouth fans. You guys are crazy people. I don't know how there are so many people into this show. I would love to know why. Please tell me why in the comment section below. Nothing against you guys personally. I want to make that clear, but Jesus Christ, what a bad show. Okay, moving on to Mulligan. Mulligan is pretty unremarkable. I did a whole review on it on why I thought it was terrible. You can check that out. Shorthand version is, this show has a really fun premise. The world gets invaded by aliens. Humanity nearly gets killed off, but a big dumb guy kills the alien command ship and drives them away, and humanity decides to make this really dumb guy their new world leader. That's the premise. It's a really good premise. I like it a lot. I like a lot of the voice actors that are in the show. There really isn't much more to say about Mulligan other than it's boring. It doesn't take advantage of the realm of adult animation. It's not very funny or fun to watch. It's more just boring and unremarkable than anything else. It's just a pain to sit through. Now, this has all led us to what I would consider to be a generational talent in horrible television writing. Like, this writer's room screwed up so bad, and nothing against them personally, but they messed up so bad with Velma that I don't know if they will ever recover in my eyes. In my eyes as writers. I did a whole video where I was like, I think Velma getting a second season is actually a good thing, because as someone who watches a lot of adult animation, I want to know what to avoid in the future to save myself a headache. And this writer's room fundamentally misunderstood how to put together a TV show with likable characters. It's like they were trying to subvert being good. It's that bad. It's that brain dead and terrible. And it's not like brain dead and terrible in the way Big Mouth is. Big Mouth thinks it's really smart, but it's being really stupid and goofy, and that at least I can write off as like, okay, stupid and goofy, I can get why people could be into that for some dumb fun. Velma thinks it's smart, and it's also trying to be smart. It's trying to be smart and witty and funny and clever, and it fails at pretty much every turn. This really is like a once-in-a-lifetime shit show, because it's a massive property. It's like Star Wars. It's almost like Star Wars, like the second Star Wars sequel movie, where it just feels like they missed everything that people liked about the original property. But even then, it's like, okay, do something new with it. And it's all subversion. It's all, this wasn't what you were expecting, right? You weren't expecting Velma to be an unlikable character. You weren't expecting Daphne to be annoying and unlikable and inconsistent. You weren't expecting Shaggy to be unlikable and incredibly stupid to the point of like cringe. That subversion, that's what it feels like. It feels like they were like, how can we make this totally different? Let's make a show unlike any show that's ever been on TV. Do you want to know why there are some similar things in TV shows like, oh, I don't know, likable characters, story arcs, growth, jokes that are funny. Do you want to know why those tropes keep showing up in TV shows? Do you know why tropes and cliches become a thing? It's because people like to see that. It's satisfying to have a setup and a payoff. Velma is all setup and no payoff. It is beyond terrible. And yes, I did watch this entire show, and yes, it is the worst adult animated show of 2023. No question. No question. As hard as it was to sit through Mulligan, as bad as that first episode of Big Mouth was, Clone High Revival, you're cool. I won't mess with you anymore. I said my piece about you, Clone High Revival. Frankly, you don't deserve to be here, but I saw a lot more really, really great stuff. I'm sorry, Clone High Revival. I'm sorry you're here. Like, just to put this into perspective, if I had to give these shows scores out of 10 right now without my prior knowledge, because I've got a very bad memory, I don't remember what I gave Clone High Revival. I don't remember what I gave Mulligan. I'd give Mulligan like a 2 or a 1. I'd give the Clone High Revival like a 5, maybe leaning towards a 6 more so than a 5. Velma is like a -4. It's that bad. There are very little redeeming qualities to it, and watching it like actively just makes you get a headache, or it makes you upset. It makes you want to void your bowels. It's just terrible. That's where I'll leave it. It's terrible. Let's move on to the good stuff. I want to talk about good stuff now. Okay, best of 2023. This one is a lot more difficult than the previous two, because I have 4 shows right here on my list that I would consider to be really, really fantastic. First up, Fired on Mars. Then we have Scavenger's Reign, Fiona and Cake, and Blue Eye Samurai. 4 amazing shows, all amazing in completely different ways. Let's start with Fired on Mars. Fired on Mars was a complete surprise. It's like Office Space meets space, I guess. This is the best way to put it. I love Office Space. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. And Fired on Mars has that same dry, kind of thoughtful approach to like the working lifestyle and working in an office space, but it also has this really fun sci-fi spin on it, and the premise is just fun too. And also Tim Heidecker's in it. I love Tim Heidecker. I think he's very, very funny. I'll usually root for him when he's in projects, so a little bit of bias there. But Fired on Mars is so much fun. I did a whole review on it. You can check it out. It's tremendous. Next up is Scavenger's Reign, which is tremendous in a completely different way. While Fired on Mars is like pretty funny and thoughtful, Scavenger's Reign is like terrifying and uncomfortable at times, and I wouldn't say so much thoughtful as it is stressful. It's just a really fun survival story. I really loved Scavenger's Reign. It was so much fun. Again, I did a whole video breaking down what I loved about it so much. It's beautifully animated. It's a great, small, little fun sci-fi story about people getting marooned on a really dangerous planet. It's just so great, and I'll leave that one there. Fiona and Cake, more Adventure Time content. God, I love Adventure Time so much, and Fiona and Cake was just unbelievably good. It was so much fun. It was so cool. It had great music. It was beautifully animated. There's so much variety, too. They go to so many different worlds. The music, too, the variety in the music was crazy. It's just bouncing from thing to thing to thing. Oh, man. And, like, Adventure Time is the name for Fiona and Cake, because it does genuinely feel like a globe-trotting adventure, or in this case, a universe-trotting adventure. Good God, Fiona and Cake is so much fun. I have to watch that one again, like, immediately after recording this video. Maybe I'll watch it while I'm editing this, but good God. Fiona and Cake, 2 thumbs up. Only drawback of Fiona and Cake is you gotta watch Adventure Time first, but I'll be real, that's not a drawback. Adventure Time is one of the best shows I've ever seen, one of my favorite shows of all time. You won't regret checking it out, and it leads to Fiona and Cake, which is easily one of the best adult animated shows of the 2020s so far, which is 4 years, so pretty big pool of stuff. Frankly, that goes for Scavenger's Reign as well, and it also goes for Blue Eye Samurai. I don't know if Fired on Mars is as good as those other 2, or these other 3, but I would say Scavenger's Reign, Fiona and Cake, and Blue Eye Samurai are some of the best adult animation I've seen in years and years and years. That and Arcane and a few other shows, like, just incredible. And that, of course, moves us on to Blue Eye Samurai, which was a huge shock, a huge surprise. Not only is this show incredibly well written, it's also incredibly well animated, and the action and the choreography behind it and the animation is so well thought out and cool. I just adore it. It's gory, gushy fun, and it tells a story that is genuinely interesting with characters that have such great motivation. Like, I want to do a whole video just on how that story unfolds to sort of break down what I'm looking for personally in a TV show when it comes to giving characters motivation. It honestly reminds me of like early Game of Thrones, where you have this huge cast of characters and every single one of them has a reason to be where they are and a reason to go to the next location. Like, that sounds small and stupid, but it's something that a lot of shows overlook or oversimplify. They'll be like, oh, this guy has to go here because he's mad. This guy has to go here because he has to get a thing. Like, every character has so much depth and they change over the course of the show. It's just tremendous. Good God, it's so hard to pick a best of 2023 this year. I love all four of these shows. Fired on Mars is, I think, a little out of, like, a little behind Scavenger's Reign, Fiona and Cake, and Blue Eye Samurai, so I don't think it's that. Scavenger's Reign I really loved, but it's a slightly smaller story, so I'll leave that one behind too. And that leaves us with Fiona and Cake and Blue Eye Samurai. Man, you know what? I'm gonna go with Old Reliable here. Just the fact that it caught me completely off guard. It's a brand new property. It came out of seemingly nowhere and just blew everyone that saw it away. I think the best animated show I saw in 2023, in a very close first place, is Blue Eye Samurai. Good God, what a fun show. What a great year for adult animation. My God, like, coming to that conclusion to give to Blue Eye Samurai was so difficult. It took me so long. Thank God I got sick at the start of January to give myself some extra time to make this video, because I had no clue what I was going to give it to at the start of this year. No idea. Seriously, I could not make up my mind. I had to kind of go over everything and just be like, oh my God, what, like, Fiona and Cake and Blue Eye Samurai are so insanely perfect. Man, what a crazy year. Okay, everybody, that brings us to the end of this video and the end of 2023. We are closing the book on that year with this video. More stuff, of course, coming in 2024. Keep your eyes open. Remember to like and subscribe and all that stuff. And please let me know what your favorite and least favorite shows and movies of 2023 were in the comments section below. I do try to read every single comment on this channel, so don't be shy. Yours will most likely not be overlooked. I actually, at this point, I can proudly say I have made it through close to 95% of the comments on my Inside Job video, which is sitting at over 1 million views, which also this year, first year with a 1 million view video, we're nearly to 10,000 subscribers. I am over the moon. I am so grateful and so happy, and I cannot thank you all enough for that. And here's to an even better 2024. It's gonna be hard to top 2023 with some of these shows and movies, but good God, I think we'll find a way to challenge it. That's all I got. See you later, everybody. I don't know what's next on the docket. I don't know if there's a new show for me to check out or if I'll just talk about Blue Eye Samurai or Fiona and Cake again. I guess we'll see, but that's where I'll leave it. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.